Midrash says that the Jews came to Moses and said, how can we remember both Shabbos and Amalek? So Moses says, I'll give you a mashal. You can have a cup full of fine wine and you have a cup full of vinegar. This is for Toiv and this is for Ra. The question itself doesn't make any sense. Why can't you remember two things? But the questions of the Jews were saying that when you are involved in Shabbos is the time of Echod. And when you're in the time of Echod, just basking in Hashem, so then there's no room for Amalek. There is no imperfections there. There is no klipa in those areas. There is no skeletons hiding in the closet. It's just the revelation of God is there. And therefore, there's no room for Amalek. So Moses says, well, you've got your wine, which is the fine wine, which represents Shabbos in one kli, and then you have the vinegar, which is Amalek, in the other kli. Now the point being is that they're in kalim. Once you have things in kalim, they are inside the vessels. Once they're inside the vessels, they're in your seichel, they're in your das, they're in your kavanah. You get it. They're in your box. Once they're in your box, so therefore you're always going to be threatened by things that trigger you. And Amalek, being the klipa, you have your own klipas. And therefore, once your wine is in the kli, once your enjoyment is in the vessel, so then you're always at risk of Amalek. You're always at risk of the klipas, of your own problems coming up to the surface. And Shabbos is a mitzvah of Oinig Shabbos. That part of the chilek of Shabbos is doing things so that you will enjoy Shabbos more. So you have bread, you have sudas, you have things on top of Shabbos, so that your enjoyment of Shabbos will be increased. This is called a Tainus Merkah. By Yom Kippur, there is no mitzvah of Oinig at Yom Kippur. The din of Yom Kippur is that there's nothing mixed into it. Me'ein oilam haba. It says in Baruchos that you sit around with crowns in your head, enjoying the ray of God, but there's no eating and drinking. So you're just enjoying it for itself. There is none of the separation and then the having things that help you to enjoy it. So in Shabbos we have the din of the Tainus Morkav, where you have the oinik, you have the food that helps you enjoy Shabbos. You can have guests over to your house for Shabbos. These things are on top of Shabbos that help you to enjoy the thing, but you're not enjoying it by itself like on Yom Kippur. So on Yom Kippur you don't need anything else in order to enjoy the pleasures. The enjoyment of Yom Kippur does not come through Morkav, it comes from itself. So therefore, if you have food or you have relations, so these things are not needed in order to enjoy it. It's just a distraction. So when you're in Shemayim, and any pleasures of eating is just going to distract you from the real pleasure, because the pleasure is God itself. So therefore, you don't want anything that comes in there. So the Sudas of Shabbos, the first Suda, the second Suda, the Gemara says you have to makabed it more. One of the reasons is that the Sudas go up in Kedusha. It says Sudas go up in Kedusha. Suda Shlishit is the highest level of Suda. Yet we see that you don't really have to do such a Suda for Suda Shlishit. And there's a Shita that says that you can be limited Torah. You can learn Torah and be Yotzei Suda Shlishit. So how could learning Torah be Yotzei Suda Shlishit? Because Suda Shlishit is Ma'ein Olam Haba, and therefore it's not a Tainus Morkav. It doesn't have a joint pleasure in it. You can enjoy the Shabbos without having the Oinek Shabbos, that if you reach that level at Suda Shlishit. And when you're in your Kalim, you're always going to have a Morkav. You're always going to have other things that are going on. So on Purim, there is a mitzvah to Adelo Yada. You have to go outside of your Kalim, to go beyond your das, break the kalim. So when Moshe is telling the Jews that is in the it's in the kli. Since it's in the kli, there's always a space for Amalek, and therefore you'll have them both. But if you break the kli and go beyond your kli, adaloyada, go outside of tam v'das, then Amalek is not going through your filter system. It's not going through your das. If you attack Amalek while you are in your kalim, so therefore everything that's bad about you will be brought out when your own klipas are going to be enriched by you engaging in them. However, if you're outside your kalim, so therefore your own klipas do not cause issues for you, because you're not dealing with yourself on the level of das. You're dealing with yourself up beyond das, and when you're beyond das, so therefore on the levels of the Tzaddik Gomor. The Tzaddik Gomor is a pure level of enjoyment of God, where there's nothing is a threat to him and nothing is a draw for him or a taiva for him outside of kedusha. So therefore, when you're adaloyada, then you can come to a point where you can confront klipa and you can confront Amalek, the Amalek that is in you. And there, the Arizal says that you can come to the point of Baruch Haman, not the point of Arur Mordechai, but you'll come to the point of Baruch Haman, because the Haman is the klipa for the kedusha that is given him life, and from the kedusha, the sons of Haman learn Torah in Bnei Brak. So Haman has the kedusha in him, but you can't access that kedusha, bring out that kedusha, until you are adaloyada. So adaloyada bein Baruch Mordechai Ar Haman. So you'll put the Baruch on the Haman because you're adaloyada, and that will bring out the nitzutzis of kedushim. Because if you do this before you are adaloyada, if you do it from a place of das, when you're in your kelim, so then you can come and strengthen the klipa itself as opposed to the kedusha that's inside Haman.